And we've got Republicans saying this is corporations, this is free market, it's sacrosanct. We've got the Democrats bought off by the same interest, lying, saying they're bringing him to heel trying to stop this when none of that's happening. The corruption and the hubris is only accelerating. And meanwhile, people are so scared of a Chinese or a Russian spy. And, they're so afraid of an Al-Qaeda turbaned brown man. But when the real threat is these guys in $5,000 suits with Harvard, business school degrees, how do we get the public to realize that in the 21st century, it's corporate takeovers, it's corporate espionage trumping governments? How do we get them to understand that this is life and death, A, and then B, where do you see this going? Because the bankers only seem to show more hubris. It's like they're completely insane.
I'm so sick of the 9/11 crybabies who are whinging over what, in retrospect, is a minor event in terms of property and loss of life. When you compare to the outrageous financial terrorism of Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan, the people who are living in tents all over America now are the direct result of the wealth that they confiscated, and as a result of them co-opting the system in ways that they were able to make riskless bets and make unlimited amounts of money, and anytime they make a loss, they simply dump it into the public domain. And by the way, there's another 125,000 unemployed this month, and the unemployment benefits are not going to be continued. And the unemployment rate, the U6, the actual number is over 20%. And the average guy, the CEO of Walmart, makes let me put this, the average CEO of Walmart makes in 1 hour what the average employee at Walmart makes in 1 year. 1 hour he makes what the average worker makes in 1 year. Now, this is all basically engineered by totally destroying the fundamental supply and demand capitalist system that was in place before the Federal Reserve took over in 1913 and introduced the income tax to pay for all that debt and interest costs, etc.
And it's perfect. They destroy capitalism and then blame what they've done on capitalism. It's insane.
Well, as a couple of your guests have pointed out, the capitalism is not the problem here. The problem is that the folks are not obeying the laws. You say that the situation is getting worse, and it is getting worse because they keep making more money, and they use that money to finance more deregulation. The finance reform bill, as it's called, is a joke. It doesn't reform anything. It may come into effect many years down the road, and if anything, it just provides additional cover for more of this wealth confiscation that's going on, and the result is what I call two paths. One is the neo-feudalism, where you're back to the Middle Ages of lords and serfs. The creditors are indentured servants. And then the other path, of course, I've talked to you about it, is what I call the casino gulag. And on that front, I just noticed that in Australia, there's some outrage because a company has introduced plastic credit card toys for babies. To get babies hooked on credit cards and to introduce them to credit cards. And I've been saying this for quite some time, that the whole credit card companies won't stop until they'll feed credit card information through the umbilical cord into the womb to get fetuses hooked on credit cards.
I'll tell you what, Max Keiser, MaxKeiser.com, do 5 more minutes with us on the other side if you can, because I want to finish up with the finances and the depression we're openly going into, and then I want to discuss a little bit about the oil spill with Max Keiser. Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. We're covering it all, and your phone calls coming up as well. You know what I want, folks? I want freedom. Legalized freedom. Let Uncle Sam out of the POW camp. These great T-shirts available at Infowars.com. And your purchase of the books, the videos, the T-shirts, it funds our operation. We're having a big effect. Thanks to you spreading the word about the broadcast and getting films at Infowars.com like Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined. And, of course, Fall the Republic that Max Keiser is in. That film is so important. You show somebody Fall the Republic, they'll understand who these crooks are. But, Max, we've only got about 5 minutes left with you. I wanted to get your take on the oil spill and how they're blocking all this international aid. And for some reason, his connection to France just dropped. We'll get him back on and hold him in the next segment. So get Max back on. But I wanted to get Max's take on the Russian situation. And his take was the same as mine, but it was basically, this signifies a global shift, at least partly away from give up all your rights, or the man with a turban and a big beard is going to get you. Now it's give up all your rights, or the gorgeous redhead Russian spy is going to get you. Again, I have no doubt these people were spies because they were actually infiltrating something that mattered. British intelligence over 100 years ago began infiltrating Wall Street, the colleges. That's all declassified because that's where the power is then and where the power is now. We have a corporate government, so the Russians are infiltrating there for their interest. But it's a non-issue because America's already been conquered by offshore banks. Now, if we ever get America back, well, then it's a serious issue to have Ruski spies running around in Wall Street. Max Keiser, your take on that? Okay, that's all you have. Giving me a thumbs up. Oh, it keeps dropping. Okay. So it's kind of like a cartoon. He's on. He's not. He's on. He's not. And then a very disapproving by the producers. He's not there, Alex. Okay. I thought this thumbs up meant he was on. And then thumbs down would mean he wasn't there. Thumbs up would mean he was there. Thumbs down would mean he is not there. Or in a gladiator type event, this would mean don't kill him. And this would mean kill him. What do you think the American people would do today if we had actual gladiatorial events going on? Would they say thumbs up or thumbs down? Well, humans are very, very brutal, ladies and gentlemen, historically. That's why we have to have some laws, a republic, if you can keep it, a small enough government to keep another government from coming and taking over, or to keep others from basically coalescing to come carry out their crimes against you. I don't believe in pure anarchy because I know it doesn't exist, but I want to get as close to total liberty as I can and as small a government as I can. But I notice the globalists are always pushing and promoting the fact that we basically have to all turn our guns in. But at the same time, they're telling us that we need to get rid of government. So it's a very schizophrenic message. No, they just mean get rid of any regulations on them so they can send out their private contractors to rob you. And so I believe in the political minds and the philosophical minds of the Founding Fathers a lot more than I do some of the silly dreamers out there that are just for no government now. And that anyone who even calls for cutting the size of government is bad because that would still mean that we had a government. Well, no, let's just move towards cutting government. Max, we were having trouble with your connection, so I need to hold you over 5 minutes before Bob Chapman so you can finish up with the points. But let's start getting into the Russians. What's your take on the incredible fear? The Russians, there's 11 of them. Beautiful women. What's going on with that?
Yeah, I think Stacey Herbert, who I co-present the show with, who's my producing partner, you know, she had a really good take on this. There seems to be some fatigue with the whole bearded, crazy Mideastern man. So they're moving the whole fear show over to back to the old Russia.
Stay there, back in 70 seconds.
Alex Jones.
Okay, 5 more minutes with Max Keiser, then Bob Chapman, international forecaster, coming up. Can't wait to ask him questions about all the big developments in the economy, get his expert take. I love having all these experts, Gerald Celente, Dr. Paul Greg Roberts, Max Keiser, Bob Chapman, so many others, Mark Faber, and basically they're all pretty much saying the same thing, but Max has a way of putting it. Max, start over, finish up with your point about what we know these Russian, really intel gatherers were trying to look into. They wanted to know about gold and silver because they know the Federal Reserve's rigging it. I mean, I don't even think that's that big of a deal. They were trying to find out. I mean, just like you go and sit in Wall Street bars and hear Goldman Sachs people bragging about raping us 3 years ago and you warned everybody. I mean, what, the Russians can't go sit in bars and hear the banker crooks that have hijacked the country sit around talking about slitting our throats?
No, I think there's 2 pieces to this. The first is that, as I pointed out a second ago, I think there's general fatigue about the bearded man hijacking plane, terror, fear that's been overplayed, and they need to bring in a new cast. And the Russian femme fatale has worked in the past, and you're going to see a lot more of this.
Notice CFR member Angelina Jolie has this movie Salt coming out in a week, all about a gorgeous Russian sleeper agent. So, I mean, they're definitely been planning this rollout for a while.
Sure, you can't underestimate the influence of those major media companies and pushing, a huge global film releases, and they're all tied in on the banking system because they all share the same banker, and they all share a lot of the same information. But going forward, in terms of what the net result of all this recent brouhaha concerning Russian spies, the only piece of hard evidence that's come out, the only piece of hard information was that they had a real strong interest in what's happening in the gold market and the silver market. And, this corresponds with that story in the UK, in London, where the whistleblower on the London Bullion Market Association showed Gary Gensler at the CFTC how the silver futures market was being manipulated.